It was a Friday night, and the city was alive. Lights blurred as I drove, my phone buzzing with ride requests. I was an Uber driver, weaving through the city streets, a small part of countless stories unfolding. Each ride was different, each passenger unique, but tonight, one encounter would stay with me. I remember the radio was playing an old Sinatra tune, something about love and loss. It was the kind of song that made you think about life, about the people you'd met and the stories they carried. Little did I know I was about to become part of a story that would touch my heart. My phone pinged, another ride request. I accepted, my car navigating me towards the pickup point. It was a quiet street, lined with brownstone houses. Streetlights cast long shadows and the air was filled with the promise of a cool autumn night. As I pulled up, I saw him standing on the sidewalk, a lone figure bathed in the warm glow of a street lamp. He looked lost, his shoulders slumped, clutching a worn leather suitcase. It was the kind of suitcase that held a lifetime of memories. He was an older gentleman, probably in his late 70s, with a shock of white hair and kind eyes that seemed to hold a universe of stories. He was wearing a slightly crumpled suit, and his tie was askew, as if he'd dressed in a hurry. He saw my car, his face etched with a weary smile. He shuffled towards the car, his steps slow and measured. I got out and helped him with his suitcase, its weight surprising me. It felt heavy with unspoken words, with a lifetime of experiences. "Thank you, son," he said, his voice a low rumble. "You're a lifesaver." He settled into the back seat, and I could see the weight of the world on his shoulders. His eyes seemed to hold a deep sadness, a quiet pain that spoke volumes. He gave me the address, a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of the city. "Long day?" I asked, trying to break the ice. He nodded, a sigh escaping his lips. "You could say that," he replied, his voice barely a whisper. We drove in silence for a while, the city lights painting patterns on his face. He stared out the window, lost in thought, his reflection a tapestry of time and experience. I could tell he wanted to talk, that the words were caught in his throat, desperate to escape. "It was my birthday," he finally said, his voice thick with emotion. I glanced at him in the rearview mirror, his words hanging in the air. He didn't elaborate, but I could tell there was more to the story. I waited patiently, giving him the space to share his burden. 72 years, he continued, his voice cracking. 26 of those years. Married. He paused, his hands trembling slightly. Today she served me divorce papers, at my birthday dinner, in front of our friends. I didn't know what to say. Words seemed woefully inadequate in the face of such raw emotion. I could offer him platitudes, empty words of comfort, but they felt hollow and meaningless. "I'm so sorry," I finally said, my voice filled with genuine empathy. "I can't imagine what you're going through." He nodded sadly, his eyes welling up. "It's like my whole world just crumbled," he whispered, his voice breaking. "All those years, all those memories, gone." I could see the pain etched on his face, the lines deepening as he fought back tears. In that moment, he wasn't just a passenger, an anonymous face in the back seat. He was a man grappling with heartbreak, with the shattering of a lifelong commitment. We continued driving, the silence filled with unspoken emotions. I wanted to do something, anything, to ease his pain, but I knew that some wounds ran too deep for words. So, I did the only thing I could think of. I reached out and turned off the radio, replacing Sinatra's melancholic tunes with a comforting silence. I wanted him to know that he wasn't alone, that I was there to listen, to offer a shoulder to cry on, even if it was just for the duration of the ride. He seemed to appreciate the gesture, offering me a small, grateful smile. We talked some more, about life, about love, about the unpredictable nature of fate. He told me about his wife, about their life together, the good times and the bad. As we approached his destination, a quiet suburban street lined with trees, a sense of peace settled over him. He seemed calmer now, the initial shock replaced by a quiet resignation. "This is it," he said, his voice regaining some of its strength. "Thank you, son, you've been a good listener." I pulled up outside his house, a modest but well-kept bungalow. He got out, his movements less labored now, a flicker of hope returning to his eyes. "And thank you," he added, "for reminding me that even in the darkest of times there's still kindness to be found." He took his suitcase, his shoulders straightening a bit, and walked towards his house. He paused at the doorstep, turning back to look at me, a small smile playing on his lips. I watched him go, his silhouette disappearing into the warm glow of the porch light. As I drove away, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd been touched by something profound, something that transcended the transactional nature of my job. That night, as I navigated the city streets, I carried his story with me. It was a reminder that life is full of unexpected turns, that love stories don't always have fairy tale endings, and that sometimes the greatest act of kindness is simply listening with an open heart. The encounter stayed with me long after that night, a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of human connection. It was a lesson I wouldn't soon forget, a story etched in my memory, a testament to the power of empathy and the enduring strength of the human spirit.